morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to NEXTGEN Warriors. This is a program on Elevate TV. Ladies and gentlemen, this program is for the young people, where we try to encompass various topics that touch on the young people. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to talk about the topic personal branding. What do you understand by personal branding? What is personal branding to you? How does it help you to stand out in the crowd? Remember, the world has become a global village right now, and if you don't stand out by branding yourself, then you may just find yourself at the bottom end of things as they happen. So ladies and gentlemen, as is always, I'm not alone in studio today. I have two wonderful gentlemen. These people, they have set themselves apart in the world, man, and they're doing great things. So I just go through their profile, man. On my immediate right, I have Onchari Oyeyo, is the political advisor to the governor of Nairobi County, that is Mike Sonko. He's also the former chief executive officer, CEO for Center for African Progress. He holds a political science degree from the Principia College, Illinois, in the USA, and is a master's in public affairs from New Mexico Islands, also in the USA. He's actually one of the foremost young people who are shaping policy discussions in the country currently. So Onchari, how are you, my brother?
Thank you. That is such a long CV.
But it is you. And on my immediate right, definitely, ladies and gentlemen, I have Advice Mundalo. Advice Mundalo is a political and communication strategist. He's also a managing partner at 2 Cents Leadership Institute, and is also the executive director of Talent House Production. I remember back in campus, I came for the audition at Talent House. You guys decided not to take me. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Welcome to the program. So, Onchari, you've set yourself apart in the political world. You're a resident commentator in various local stations. You've worked with the U.S. Embassy, the USAID, man. You're doing everything. What sets you apart? What is personal branding to you?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me here.
Yeah.
And you know, sometimes people say so many good things about me until I have to question myself. But then, thank you so much. Now, thank you, my brother, for being a part of the discussion as well. Personal branding is about positioning yourself. It's how you create yourself, the kind of image you put up, and then you project the same, or you sell the same to the rest of the world. So you have to intelligently and deliberately design that to fit what you want. So it's all about taking control of your image and then sending it out there so that people can have a particular perception of you. Now, that is what you market. So what you market out there as being you is the brand.
Wow.
Yeah.
Advice.
Yeah.
What you market out there is the brand.
Exactly. You put it so well that
Yes.
I'm like, what would I say about the same? But in my estimation, in the long short of it, is personal branding is simply the institutionalization of oneself for the sake of public perception.
Kuja pole pole. That Kizungu is so big, eh? You know, we have very young viewers watching this program. Somebody is in campus, somebody is in Form 4 right now.
Yes.
So what did you just mean by
It's the institutionalization of oneself for the sake of public perception. Basically, how are you able to put up yourself as an far away from just an individual to an institution? Yeah, because every other person has a right over themselves. So apart from looking at yourself as Advice, now you look at yourself as the brand Advice, as the institution Advice. Then what would be done to the institution like KEMSA, to an institution like what my brother helps to lead, like Nairobi County. Now when you look at yourself in that regard, then you are able to put up structures within yourself that will make you a brand for the sake of what you're doing, for the sake of your profession, for the sake of your talent, for the sake of anything that you're doing. Then that will be able to shape the public perception of you.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we need to become institutions on our own.
Exactly.
So that is the brand.
Exactly.
Wow. So Onchari, just building on the aspect of institution, what are the processes involved in becoming an institution? Do we like have a laid down procedure? Like we can say you go through step 1, 2, 3, or how do you just become an institution?
Now, going back to, I think I'd like to agree with him when it comes to the whole process of transforming yourself from just being an individual to something like an institution. I agree with that. The whole idea of personal branding is not very old. It goes back to, I think, 1937, during the time of Napoleon Hill and people like Carl speak, they're the pioneers of the whole idea of personal branding. And it's still a developing area, but then again, it's because of what we call the whole process of trying to make it a knowledge base. But the element of personal branding goes back to the days of Plato, Socrates, and all that. They'd come out as public intellectuals, as carriers of knowledge, and then they'd sit somewhere like in the public square and talk to young people. So that is the kind of element, that is the kind of image they wanted to project out there of themselves as people who are let's call them carriers or bearers of knowledge in society. Yeah. And that is the kind of perception we have of them to the moment. They wanted to be considered, for example, Socrates was actually very conscious of how he was perceived. He wanted to be remembered as someone who emphasized ethics, morality, and straightforwardness in society. So personal branding as a practice goes way back to the days of, it's as old as civilization itself. But now developing it into a knowledge base is a recent venture, and it's still developing. Now, there are steps, of course, in the whole idea of personal branding.
Yes.
The first one is to identify what you want. You assess yourself, you take stock of what you want, what you are. Start from where you are. As Onchari, who am I? What do I have of myself? How do I see myself? Once you have that, now you have to ask yourself, where do I want to go? Once you determine where you want to go, you have to come up with what you call strategies of transformation.
So my brother, allow me to cut you short.
Yes.
Advice. He has just said that you need to start identifying
what you want.
What you want. So what happens in the process of identification? Even before we go to other aspects, what happens in the process of identification? Do I need to read books? Do I need to make friends? What do I need to do as I identify?
You are not supposed to read books to identify yourself. You are supposed to, first of all, identify your strengths and your weaknesses and your aspirations. As a person, are you the person who is looking forward to being a media personality? Are you looking forward to being a bishop? Are you looking forward to maybe being a strategist? Are you looking forward to joining politics? So once you identify what your aspirations are as a person, and that cannot be created, it has to be within you, because every other person has a footing, has a brand, has a talent that is associated with them. So first of all, you have to identify what exactly were you born to do on this earth. Once you identify what you are born to do on this earth, then you can start working towards it. Now, most of the problem is people have not really known what they are supposed to be doing. And then that's why they don't have any particular direction that they are going. So in the first place, you have to know, what do I want to do? Once you identify that this is what I want to do, it will speak to then the kind of brand you will be able to maneuver with. Because the brand of a politician is not the brand of a pastor, is not the brand of an artist. Yeah, so, and even when you're an artist, are you a gospel artist or are you a secular artist? So the difference in all these things is able to shape a certain kind of brand, because once you become a brand, and I always say the best way for you to know that you're a brand is that somebody can be able to look at you, and then without you saying anything, they can almost know what you do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's the stage you're at?
I don't know, because like when you look at Onchari, I'm very sure when I look at Onchari, it's not very easy for me to say he's a socialite. Because when you just look at him, then you know he cannot be a socialite. You look at him, you know he's not an artist.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's getting heated inside here. I tell you, these guys are oozing wisdom and knowledge. And a lot of information is coming out. I hope you've read about the Socrates, the Platos, and the likes of this world. Keep yourself abreast with this knowledge so that when we talk about personal branding, you know the genesis of it. So Onchari, I cut you short because I didn't want you to go to the second step. So we have already identified our strengths. So what next?
Well, thank you so much, my brother, for making it very clear that Onchari can. So next time someone claims to have seen me in Kids or Big Club doing something,
we know.
Deny it outright.
We know you're a good man.
Tell them that is not Onchari. It cannot be him.
Yeah, we know.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Now, once you've identified, like we agreed, where you want to go.
Yes.
Now you have to look at what you have. For example, let's say I want to go to Kayole, and I'm here now. So where I want to go is Kayole. Where am I? I'm here. So once you've identified where you want to go, look at what you have. What do I have? Will you take me there? okay, will it get me from maybe CBD to Kayole? So you identify your strengths.
So are you talking resources here? Are you talking the people around you?
We're talking about talent. We're talking about your positioning in the society. We're talking about where you come from, your background. We're talking about your reputation as it exists in the society currently. For example, if I want to become a socialite, I have to look at where I am now. How do people know me? Like most likely he thinks I'm a pastor, right? so for me to transform myself into a socialite, I have to clear that image of being viewed as a pastor, right? Then I begin putting on all those blings and stuff like that. So you have to identify what you have after you've known where you want to go. Look at where you are. What do you have? And you take stock of all that. So that will take to the third stage of adjusting what you have to make it what you require to take you to the next level.
And even in the Bible, at some point, I remember I read my Bible well. At some point, God asked Moses, "What do you have?" So I mean, ladies and gentlemen, in personal branding, what do you have? You've identified your strengths, but what do you have? So advice. I know you are a very celebrated actor and a director and a producer. So did it just happen, or you had these things?
As I started by saying, first of all, you have to identify, as you've already said, what do you have? Because you cannot be a producer, you cannot be a director when you're not destined to be one. So it must be first of all within you. And so, like, you realize in my journey of art, there is a time that I was very good on stage, then I transformed and went backstage. And because you keep identifying what then becomes your strength. So a person is supposed to sit down and then look at themselves and know, what is my talent? Do I want to be an artist? If that is what I want, what does it then take for me to be a good one? Do I need to go to school? Do I need to study this and this? And then what is my environment? Because you cannot be like those of us who also are in the political leadership side of things. You cannot be able to champion that cause with the wrong environment. You cannot be a person who is deep into the politics and into the leadership, but you have a circle of socialites with no pan on them.
You guys, there's something about socialites that you're not telling us, but it's okay.
You cannot want maybe to be a media personality, like somebody's looking at you and they would wish to be you, but then they are in a circle that is full of maybe, let me say pastors.
But pastors can be.
I'm not saying there is a problem there, but I'm saying.
I'm getting your point.
But I'm saying your environment has to be congruent to your aspirations.
Exactly.
So you need to be sure that your environment is right, because somehow it propels you to the next level. So and that is part of your brand. And how do you even get your environment? Now, how you even get to shape your environment and how you get to the right environment has a lot to do with now what your personal brand will be. That's why before you even get there, you really need to have established it. Because you might go to Onchari and you want to work with him on something in the political sphere, in the governance sphere, but then he looks at you as an entity, because he doesn't see any brand of you in that sphere. So first of all, you must be able to establish yourself in a manner that is going to be likable to the other side, to the environment that you are seeking.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
That is quite huge. You want to add something with that?
No, it makes a lot of sense. And obviously it's focused on Mr. Advice. He's given so good advice. There's the element of he has made a very good point of what we call talenting. Identification of talent.
Talents,
You cannot push yourself into a place where you don't belong. Now, before someone like Lumumba and Muluka could become celebrated intellectuals, they had to have that kind of strength within them. So when Jeff invites them to his show, it's because he knows they have some kind of strength. He does not just pick them. There's a reason why PLO can be invited and not me. Of course, at some point it's going to be me. So
there's a reason. My brother have hopes.
There's a reason why that happens. So the strength has to be there, like he said. You cannot push yourself into a field where you don't have that kind of strength.
Yes.
And if I may comment briefly on our music industry. Now, when you go to the other side of Africa, that is Tanzania, our neighbors, their music is so it flows. It's so easy and it's so sweet. because most of these guys don't force. Now, if you get a Kenyan rapper, he'll try to imitate or emulate, the American way of doing things, and then it comes out so awkward and mediocre. Okay. Tanzanians do it in Swahili, and once you listen to that, you feel like, it's part of you. So we have that. Once you identify your strengths, that is what you work on.
So in all this thing, identification of strengths, resources, environment, and all that, what is the importance of personal branding? Because we've already identified the steps, what it is, but now how is it important? What is the selling point of personal branding?
Now, as a tailor, there's a reason why you're here, obviously. If you don't brand yourself, like you said earlier when you introduced the show, you get lost in the masses. We're talking about 8 billion people around the world. Wow. Okay, for you to stand out, you have to have something. And if you have something, just like the Bible says, if you light a lamp and you put it under bed, it's not going to give light to anybody. So what you do is to put it in a place where it can be viewed by everybody. So branding puts you a step ahead of everyone else. That's when you can be able to. There are so many reasons why people brand. You can do it for money. You can do it to shape policy. You can do it to even inject morals into society. You can work so hard, stand out, and then say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to make money. I want to inspire young men to do something. For example, Obama did not brand himself, become US president, to monetize the whole thing. I even wonder how he did it. He actually did it so as to inspire young black men in the US, to show them that it's possible. You can begin from zero as a black man and still become president of the US.
So Andres,
yeah.
Has he exhausted all the important aspects of personal branding?
He has done a lot to really bring it down.
Yes.
But then what I would, when you asked about the importance of personal branding is important to every other person. Because what it simply does is that it moves you from being a human being to an individual.
Wow.
Because nobody knows every human being. All of us, once you're born, you just become a human being. Yeah? But it will take you to identify a person for you to say, now that is Onchari. Now, do you have the capacity that will make someone out to see you out of the many human beings and say, this is Kolo? That's why when Churchill passes somewhere, you'll be able to identify him in a crowd of human beings and say, this is Churchill.
So he's become an individual.
He has become an individual.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, are you a human being or are you an individual? You better make that decision right now. Just before we go on a short break, of course, gentlemen on set, we know that there are young people watching this program, and they're wondering, so what do I need to do? I have identified my strength, the environment is there, but things are not moving. What do I need to do? What is there something extra required? Or because otherwise you're all operating on the same level.
As I started by saying, I said it's the institutionalization of something. It doesn't take a microsecond, a day, a week for an institution to be built.
How long did yours take?
It has taken time and it is still under construction. Because scholars say that it takes a minimum of 10 years of consistently doing something for you to actually know how to do it.
Wow, 10 years.
It takes 10 years. So for you to identify and be able to be the kind of brand that, for example, when you look at the political, and you allow me to use political examples because I'm a political strategist. When you look at the political side of the country, and someone would wake up, and there's a reason why when we think about people who can lead this country, we only think about 5 people. Not because they are the best, but because they are the brand that has been able to stamp authority, that they have made us all believe that these are the only names that can be able to appear there. So it is not about someone thinking they can wake up and then tomorrow they are a brand. No, it will take time, it will take consistency. It will take very many days, it will take you going to school, depending on which side of the brand you are. It will take you creating an environment which is not going to be, again, a thing you'll be able to just do overnight. You will have to do a lot of work to create that environment. It will take a lot of consistency. It is going to take you a lot of deliberation and being very deliberate in what you do, that people can be able to look at you and know they can depend on you. I always say, the best way for you to be a good brand is you must be able to be this kind of human being that people can predict what you can do. Once people can predict what you can do, then they will trust you. Once people can be able to say, Kolo, by the way, Kolo ukimpea pesa, atarudisha. Now you'll get, the next person will also give you that money. So it is about us being able to know, to predict, what can you be able to do? But if you're the kind of person who no one can predict anything that you can be able to do, then you are still a human being.
Are you an individual or a human being, ladies and gentlemen? you need to decide. I mean, it is coming out very clearly that it's either you are a human being or you are an individual. Onchari, picking up from where he has left. From your days as a student in UON, you are part of the leadership in UON. You went to New Mexico, you were in Principia, you were in the Illinois. I mean, you're everywhere, man. What was that extra thing that you did to make you ahead of everyone?
I think I've just been lucky. Actually, I'm a very lazy person. I think if we can remember the words of Shakespeare, he said at some point that some people are born great, others acquire greatness.
So which one are you?
And then to others, greatness is just given. And when he pointed out that when we talk about the leadership of this country, we remember maybe 5 people. You remember, you look at Uhuru, you look at Raila, you look at Ruto, Musalia, and perhaps Musyoka. Now, these guys fall into different classes. Shakespeare, of course, was talking about something else, but then again, it again goes back to the whole idea of personal branding. When you look at yourself, you're asking about what people need to do so that you don't just remain a human being. You can transform yourself to the next level, to something else. Now, when you look at your background, where you come from, what you're doing, who you are, you come to the table with some assets. If, let's say, you're gifted a long distance runner, and you can identify that. Some people don't have to work so hard for their brand to go up. All you have to do is show up. You show up
and run.
You show up. I'm Uhuru Kenyatta. People remember Mzee, so you come with some assets. So for some, the distance they have to walk to become individuals is very short. Others have to cover twice as long. Ruto has had to walk, I think, twice as long as Uhuru to actually get to where he is now. So it all depends on where you come from.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need to make a disclaimer right there that the comments expressed in this show are solely for the panelists and not the comments or the interpretations of the show or the producers of the show.
With all due respect. So there's that element of being born great, and you cannot blame people, condemn them for being who they are. You don't choose your family. That is what God gives you. And so branding is the same thing. You identify where you are. If you're a gifted musician or something like that, when the talent is in you, you're not as disadvantaged as someone who has to force it. Okay. So you identify that, and then from that is where you can begin to work. Once you realize you have to force something, or it's not in you.
It's not in you,
Then it means your work is cut out. You have to work twice as hard as someone who has that. If you're not born into this kind of, let's call it again, I'm sure you're going to throw another disclaimer. If you're not born into a dynasty, you have to know you're going to really work for it. So that is it. Again, for branding, you have to identify your strengths, and then if it's something you're going to work for that you don't have, then it means you're going to do a lot of work. Now, there are so many young people out there who want to succeed in life, who want to get to some place. It's very important that you be honest to yourself.
Honesty.
Don't get into a field that does not fit you, because at the end of the day, you will fail.
Wow.
That is it. Because even if you make so much money from a field you don't, have strengths in, you'll not enjoy. And because at the end of the day, they say success in any field is about being happy doing it. It's not about the amount of money you make. So when you look at, for example, American politics, Obama had to begin from zero, no name recognition and stuff like that, but still he made it. That is because he knew, because it's me as a black man, I have to work so hard. I have to behave well, I have to read so many books, and I have to keep my record straight in terms of behavior.
So my brother, if a black man in America had to work that hard, what happens to a black man in Kenya? Hold that thought right there. We will be right back shortly to just proceed with this statement. If a black man in America had to work that hard, what about a black man in Kenya?